The 6th of May, 2026, Santa Margalida, Mallorca, 7:30 a.m. A neighbor is woken by screams. She looks out her window and sees police cars racing toward a luxury villa. Inside, a British reality TV star lies in a pool of blood. His name is Jake Hall. He was 35 years old, and the way he died has left more questions than answers. Over the next 20 minutes, I will take you through his entire life, the fame, the love, the debt, the mental health battles, and finally, the chaotic final hours that ended his life. This is the full story of Jake Hall. Early life. Before the cameras. Jake Hall was born in 1,990 inches, Essex, England. He grew up in a working-class family, and from a young age, he had two passions, football and attention. He was good enough at soccer to play semi-professionally for clubs like Bishop Stortford and Chelmsford City. Scouts noticed his pace and his aggression on the pitch. But Jake also had a natural charisma. Friends say he could walk into any room and own it within minutes. That combination athleticism and charm would eventually catch the eye of ITV casting directors. But first, he had to survive his 20s. TOWIE arrival. The new heartthrob. In 2015, Jake Hall joined The Only Way Is Essex for season 14. He was introduced as the new love interest of fan favorite Chloe Lewis. The producers knew exactly what they were doing. Jake was handsome, confident, and slightly cocky. Viewers loved to hate him, and hated to love him. Within weeks, he became one of the most talked about cast members. His one-liners were memes. His fashion choices were copied. But Jake wasn't just playing a character. Off camera, he was just as impulsive, just as emotional, and just as prone to bad decisions. The Chloe Lewis years. Love and betrayal. Jake and Chloe's relationship was the backbone of TOWIE for 2 seasons. They argued, they made up, they argued again. But in the season 17 finale, it all exploded. Jake admitted on camera that he had been unfaithful. Chloe walked off the set in tears. Fans turned on Jake instantly. He became the villain. He left the show shortly after. In a later interview, Jake admitted, "I made a huge mistake. I lost a lot of people's trust, and I lost myself for a while." That loss of reputation would haunt him for years. New love, Miss Bakiri and engagement. But Jake didn't stay single for long. In 2016, he met Missa Bakiri, a stunning Albanian-Swedish model who had worked for major fashion brands. They were engaged within months. On paper, they were the perfect couple, both beautiful, both ambitious, both hungry for fame. Jake called her the love of my life. In 2017, they had a daughter, River. For a while, Jake's Instagram was a highlight reel of happy family moments. But behind the scenes, something was very wrong. The toxic relationship and restraining order. Years later, Missa would describe their relationship with one word: toxic. In 2019, things got so bad that Missa obtained a temporary restraining order against Jake. The details were never made public, but sources say it involved threats and harassment. By 2021, the engagement was over. Jake fought for custody of River, but his access was limited. Friends say he was devastated. He posted photos of River with captions like "Daddy misses you." The heartbreak of losing daily contact with his daughter became a central wound that never healed. Music and fashion. The failed mogul. Jake knew that reality TV fame was finite, so he tried to build an empire. First, music. He formed a group called Yours Collective. They released a few tracks on Spotify. Total streams? Under 50,000. Then, fashion. In 2018, he launched Prévu Studio, a streetwear brand. The designs were solid, think Off-White meets British street style, but the business side was a disaster. By 2020, Prévu Studio went into liquidation, leaving behind significant debt. Undeterred, Jake launched By Jake Hall in 2023. That one collapsed even faster by 2025. In his final interview, he admitted, "I put everything into those brands, and I lost everything." Financial ruin? The debt clock. Let's talk numbers. Court records show that by early 2026, Jake Hall was personally liable for over £150,000 in unpaid debts. That includes business loans, credit cards, and back taxes. He had sold his car. He had moved into a small flat outside London. Friends say he was borrowing money just to afford plane tickets to see River. In one heartbreaking text message leaked to a tabloid, Jake wrote to a friend, "I don't know how I'm going to pay rent next month. I feel like such a failure." The gap between his public image and his private reality had never been wider. Mental health, the darkest confession. Jake gave his final interview just 3 weeks before his death. It's now gone viral. In it, he was brutally honest. Quote, "I was at a very low point. I went through a lot of turmoil. If I'm honest, River is the reason I'm here today. She saved my life." He paused, then added, "She's very creative, always dancing, and loves clothes. I just want to be there for her." Those words now feel like a cry for help that nobody fully heard. On his Instagram, his final posts were equally haunting. One showed him alone on a beach with the caption, "Trying to find peace." Another, "Life is bollocks sometimes, but I'm going to try to remember the good things." The Mallorca trip, setup and first days. On the 3rd of May 2026, Jake flew to Mallorca with 6 friends, 4 men and 2 women. They rented a large, luxurious villa in the quiet town of Santa Margalida. The first 2 days were normal poolside drinks, dinners out, Instagram stories of sunsets. Jake seemed relaxed. He posted a video of himself dancing by the pool. But by May 5, the mood shifted. Witnesses say the drinking intensified. Arguments started. Jake became agitated. No one knows exactly what triggered it, but something was brewing. The final night. Party and tension. On the night of May 5, the group went out to a local bar. They returned to the villa in the early morning hours, around 1 a.m., to continue partying. What happened next is still unclear, but one thing is certain. Jake was not calm. Witnesses later told police that he was pacing, raising his voice, and seemed paranoid. One friend tried to calm him down. It didn't work. The party continued, but the energy had turned dark. The neighbor's terrifying account. At approximately 2 a.m., a neighbor who lives next to the villa was woken by a loud noise. She later told Spanish reporters, "It sounded like drilling, very loud. I felt the walls vibrate." She said the noise lasted about 5 minutes, then stopped. She assumed it was construction. But now, investigators believe the noise may have been the sound of Jake crashing into a large glass object, possibly a door, a table, or a window. If that's true, then Jake was already severely injured by 2 a.m. But police weren't called until 7:30 a.m. That gap, 5.5 hours, is the biggest mystery of this case. The discovery and emergency call. At 7:30 a.m., one of the women in the group woke up and walked into the main living area. What she saw made her scream. Jake was lying on the floor in a massive pool of blood. There was shattered glass everywhere. She later told police she thought he had been stabbed. She called emergency services immediately. Paramedics arrived within minutes, but it was too late. Jake had already died from his injuries. The official cause? A severe chest wound caused by a large shard of glass. Not a head injury, as first reported. A chest wound deep enough to be fatal within minutes. The scene evidence. What police found. Spanish Civil Guard officers who arrived at the scene noted several key pieces of evidence. First, the glass was not from a single source. There were multiple broken glass objects, some from a table, some from a door, some from drinking glasses. Second, Jake's injuries were not limited to his chest. He had cuts on his hands and arms, as if he had tried to break a fall or defend himself. Third, there was no weapon, no knife, no blunt object, nothing that suggested an attack. Based on this, the lead investigator stated publicly, "There is nothing pointing to it being the result of a crime. We are treating it as an accidental death." But the neighbor's account of the 2 a.m. noise suggests the accident happened hours before anyone called for help. Mr. Bakiri's statement and River's future. After Jake's death was confirmed, Mr. Bakiri's representative released a short statement. It read, "At this time, Mrs. focus is on supporting and protecting their child as they come to terms with this devastating loss. She asks for privacy." There was no tribute to Jake, no fond memory shared. That silence speaks volumes about how their relationship ended. As for River, she is now 9 years old. She will grow up knowing that her father loved her deeply, but also that he struggled. Tribute. Jake Hall was 35 years old. He leaves behind a 9-year-old daughter, River, who will never truly know how much her father loved her. He leaves behind friends who are haunted by that night. And he leaves behind millions of fans who watched him on TV and wondered what went wrong. I will update this video when toxicology results are released. Until then, rest in peace, Jake. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, comment, and share. Subscribe for more in-depth celebrity stories.